What's going on, guys? CKD with the video, and today we're going to be talking about a brand new album that we just reviewed this week. Another great album we got here on the listening deck on my personal playlist. And this is an album, that is by, of course, one of those that I'm very biased about, Roy Woods. You know what I'm saying? I love OVO. You guys know that. I love pretty much everyone on OVO. There's not one really that I don't like. You know what I'm saying? I like all of OVO pretty much. And, call that bias, call it whatever, call that personal preference, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of 2016, we got this EP here. It was a surprise EP. It was, released out the blue, and it's by Roy Woods, and it is titled Nocturnal, and this is the Roy Woods Nocturnal EP review. Now, just starting off to say a couple things here. As I said before, again, this was a EP that was very unexpected, very out of the blue, and to even think that Roy Woods already dropped the full album, at that his first album back in the summertime, you would think that maybe he would take a few months off, and really just get to recording maybe a whole nother album. But we get this EP. It's a surprise EP, something that we weren't expecting at all. Especially I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting him to maybe drop maybe sometime next late 2017, maybe in August, in October or something like that. But we get this surprise in December 2016 Nocturnal EP. Now let me emphasize the word EP, because this is not an LP. This is not a very long album. This is only 7 tracks long. It's going to run you just under half an hour of the full entire playtime from track 1 to track 7, and it is a very short album, and there are also, with that, you guys know that there are some benefits and detriments to it being a short EP, right? For me, I kind of enjoy the shorter ones, what I'm saying? I enjoy the short EPs where, I can just take it all, whether I'm on the car to school or on the way to work, I can consume it all in one sitting as opposed to having to break it up in, let's say, an 18-track, long play album, what I'm saying? So having a short EP, it's nice, keep things tight, keeps it concise, and you just, overall, I feel like it's a nice, just a nice experience. I'm saying, who doesn't like an appetizer? What I'm saying? Why get a full course meal every time? Appetizers are cool, right? They're cool. Now, kind of going into my thoughts on this EP, right? Just off the bat, I feel like, around my first couple playthroughs, I was getting the feeling that this is a different Roy Woods, right? This is a very, very different Roy Woods, and it's in a lot of ways. Talking from a sound perspective, he is really adapting his sound here. I'm saying? This is not an EP that you'll hear the usual Roy Woods instrumentals where it's kind of, just kind of low tone, kind of, low key instrumentals. This is very much a EP that is exploring avenues of different instrumentals and different sounds while still retaining that low-key, kind of feel to Roy Woods overall, as an R&B artist. What I'm saying? He has very much that low-key tone throughout the EP, but there are some songs that have new elements in them, whether it be a guitar riff or a more upbeat beat to it. There are a lot of different avenues that he's exploring with in this EP, and I can appreciate that. It shows that he's evolving as an artist. And another way this is also him, kind of showing a more mature Roy Woods is in the subjects he's talking about, right? Now, if you look at Waking at Dawn, right, there are lyrics in there where he's literally talking about where he's debating life and death, right? He is debating the Bible or the bullet, what I'm saying? Like, there are those kind of cutthroat lines that, that kind of just take you off guard, like, whoa, like, that's some real things. And also, I reviewed that Waking at Dawn album, so make sure to check it out in my channel as well down below in the description. But, speaking on to this one, we see a nice flow, a nice kind of continuation from Waking at Dawn to Nocturnal, right? We see a lot of the same things talked about in this album. We see a lot of the same things that are being, kind of resolved in a way, kind of being touched on again in a better fashion, right? And we see that, with lines like where in Waking at Dawn, he is, kind of describing how the bonds and ties he had with his family back home and his friends back home are kind of breaking and being, kind of just disrupted. And in, Nocturnal, we get a touch of that as well, but it's in a very much of a different fashion, very much of a different stage in those bonds and ties that he had. Where kind of like in Waking at Dawn, it kind of sounded like his family was kind of just like mad in a way, or kind of had a certain grudge towards him for going off and being this big star or whatever, right? But then going on to Nocturnal, he's saying that my mom's proud of me for the first time. Like, this is the first time my mom's proud of me, and there are still that low-key bad undertones with his friends, where he says in Nocturnal that his friends aren't his friends no more, and all that stuff like that, from him moving on to a different stage of his life where he is this star on OVO. But it's really nice to see that there's kind of a continuation. There's kind of a where he's not forgetting the stuff that he said before, and he is kind of making it all flow together, where you can listen to Waking at Dawn and probably go flow right into Nocturnal and pick up on more things that I I didn't pick up on. It's just nice to hear that, kind of Nocturnal is kind of like a part 2 to Waking at Dawn. And Waking at Dawn really is kind of like a part 2 to Exodus, like Exodus, Waking at Dawn, and Nocturnal all in a way flow together. And they flow together, in their overall tone and their overall, subjects of Roy Wood's life. While, we are getting this adaptiveness sound to Roy Woods, we are getting this change in instrumentals in a lot of ways, what I'm saying, it still does retain that Roy Wood sound. We'll just keep that in mind for you. There are still those sounds where he is just cutthroat R&B, where he's just kind of low-key screaming at, the listener, or screaming, at the subject he's talking about. He is still there. There is still that Roy Woods in there, but at the same time, there is still kind of like, that exploration type of thing that we got started in Waking at Dawn, but now it continues on with Nocturnal, where we're getting more, different beats, more upbeat beats, and stuff like that. For example, one of my favorite guitar riffs that he explored with is in track 2, and then the last track is called Dangerous, where they have this new kind of guitar riff thing. In track 2 with Four Seasons, that's kind of, oh my god, like we're gonna talk about Four Seasons later, but with that, it has a brand new guitar riff that is something that we didn't really hear a lot in Roy Woods, and that guitar riff is also all across Nocturnal, not just Four Seasons and Dangerous. It's kind of sprinkled everywhere, and there's that's kind of what I feel about this album, where there are just sprinkles of a lot of new things in this whole entire EP, but still retains that Roy Wood sound. Going back to Four Seasons, that is by far my favorite track on this EP. I very much do kind of feel what he's talking about, and it kind of weird how it kind of matches up with some things that are happening right now in my life, about kind of wanting to go away and moving out, all that stuff that kind of I feel like every young adult deals with, right? And it feels like we're dealing with it kind of right with him with the song, right? Because he is, keep in mind, he's only 20 years old. He is only 20, right? He is 2 years older than me. That's it. What I'm saying? Like me and him, kind of relate on a lot of things, as opposed to me gonna try and relate to Drake, where he is literally 30 years old. He's 10 years older than me, right? 10, 12 years, whatever, math. But beside the point, right? Like just hearing, Roy Woods, hearing an artist like this, him being so young, him being so in his infancy in a way, kind of explore life and portray that in music is something that I feel like a lot of people will attach to with this EP. And also Four Seasons kind of feels a little bit like one of Drake's venting tracks, where we get, 9 a.m. in Dallas, 5 a.m. in Toronto, tracks like that, where it's just him off the beat venting. It feels kind of like this, with Roy Woods on this track 2, where it feels like he is just venting about a lot of things, and it's overall, it's a great track. It's my favorite track out of the whole EP, and arguably, up there with my favorite Roy Woods tracks of all time. Now going on to, some more of the tracks in the album, we have track 3, Chili Peppers. Track 3, Chili Peppers, which is again, very much a fan favorite overall with a lot of people, and this is another way that he's exploring the instrumentals and overall sound of his songs, where it's more of like a high tempo in the chorus. It's something that we don't usually see with Roy Woods, kind of a fast-paced type of song. And this song definitely does bring it. And of course, Majid Jordan did the beat and has a verse in it as well. And obviously, Majid Jordan kills it whenever he does, and whatever they do. Obviously, Majid Jordan is complete. I can't even continue to fathom how good Majid Jordan is, and they definitely do show their stuff here in Chili Peppers. And pretty much my second favorite track on this EP, and really I kind of argue in myself with whether this is better than Four Seasons or it's not, but it is the song Instinct. I love Instinct. Obviously it's one of those that a lot of people kind of feel that, laissez-faire, just let things go. It's kind of like the whole, meaning to the song, just follow your instinct, really is what the chorus is. And there is a new guy here that I haven't heard about, but his name is Made in Tokyo, but it's made in TYO, whatever, right? So he's in this track, and I've never heard of him really, but I really do like his style. Like he sounds more of like maybe if it was infused with maybe Frank Ocean. No, not really Frank Ocean sound. He just sounds a little bit like Roy Woods, but it's a different style where I definitely do like it a lot, obviously. And I really do appreciate that he threw on a new guy here that I never heard before, instead of putting on like P Rain or something that something that we've never heard of before. I really do appreciate when people put on brand new people that we have never heard of, and this is definitely one that I've never heard of him, and I'll for sure be looking up some more stuff about him. Hopefully there is some EPs or mixtapes that he's put out in the past so that I can listen to those, but that one is probably my second favorite track on this whole entire thing, Instinct. I love that song. And overall, how do I feel about this album? What I recommend it to you guys. If you guys love Roy Woods, you guys already had this album. I don't even have to convince you guys. But if you guys are just kind of in the door, kind of looking at this album, you know, looking at this EP, you're kind of thinking, like maybe not, do it. Get this. Come on, guys, really. If you guys have Spotify or Apple Music, there is no reason why you guys should not even listen to this or even give it a listen. It's just, come on, it's short, it's 7 tracks long, it'll run you less than half an hour. It's by a talented artist who's proven himself many times over and over. You know, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? You should just give this a try. But if you are the, you know, kind of fan like I am, right, I would even advise you actually go out and buy this EP, right? Yes, purchase music. I know a lot of people don't do that these days, but I would even advise you purchase this album because look, it's only $5. It's $4.99 on iTunes, and I don't really know how much it goes for in the Google Play Store or anywhere else where it's at. But you know, just looking at just iTunes, it is $4.99. It's $5 to toss through a very talented artist. I really do feel like you guys should do it. If you guys have the means to do it. If you guys don't have the means, and you know, obviously, just stream it and do your thing. But if you have the means to pay for it, I suggest you do so because Nocturnal EP is great. And that rounds up the first review of 2017. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like, subscribe, share all those down below. Also, make sure to check out my Waking Dawn review as well. That was on my channel last year. Make sure to check that out as well. And please stay tuned for some more reviews we got going. We got plenty of things going for 2017. We got plenty of music coming out in 2017, so make sure you go check it out as well on this channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.